This week, Donald Trump met with the CEO of Twitter, and although there are a number of, I think, legitimate and serious concerns that people have about the way Twitter is being run, its protections for various groups, its effect on American politics, Donald Trump pretty much made the entire thing about himself. A large percentage of the meeting, which included senior White House officials such as Trump's social media director Dan Scavino, was spent addressing the subject of @RealDonaldTrump's follower count. The president stated his belief that he had lost some of his roughly 59 million followers in anti-Trump, anti-conservative Twitter purges, according to a source familiar with the meeting. Now, thankfully, in this case, the leader of Twitter was there to correct him, and Jack Dorsey had to explain to the president that, like other Twitter users, @RealDonaldTrump periodically loses followers when the site deletes fake or bot accounts. Dorsey even said he himself had lost followers as a result of Twitter's efforts to delete fake accounts. But I am gonna guess that Trump remained sure that he's being targeted. Yeah. That's the conservative thing.
Dorsey yells fake accounts, Trump yells back fake news. Okay. So look, let's get to the heart of the story. The president is a child. And look, all the different things happening in the world. There's a humanitarian crisis in Yemen. In Myanmar, people are being driven out. You've got deaths in Afghanistan, we're going to report on a little bit later. You've got all the different problems in the country now. The farmers are being devastated by Donald Trump's tariffs. Wages are stagnant. This guy is spending his day, when he's the president of the United States of America and supposed to be looking out for 330 million Americans, bringing in the CEO of Twitter to yell at him. And it turns out, you know what his #1 complaint is? That Obama has more Twitter followers than he does.
Yeah, even though he is so much better at Twitter than Obama is.
Oh my God.
Evidently not, Donald.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if my 8-year-old was like, not fair, I'm better at Twitter than my sister, but she has more followers, I'd be like, dude, look, I gotta teach you how, I don't wanna say man up. I'm just saying like, you gotta teach you how to exist in the world, right? And realize how you've got to, be responsible for yourself and not complain at every turn and not compare yourself to others nonstop. But this is not an 8-year-old. This is the president of the United States. We cannot get used to what a buffoon he is. And also a conspiracy theorist. Oh, I think Twitter is discriminating against Republicans. We had the strongest fake bots. And now they're taking them away. Right? He doesn't think they're fake bots. He doesn't understand bots. He doesn't understand anything. And he thinks that the Twitter would go after the most powerful man on earth. Yeah, that'd be a logical move for a company. And so it's another Alex Jones move by Donald Trump. But more important than anything else is wasting his time doing this unbelievable stuff. Just a mental, I can't say it, but you know what, one of the lowest IQ people ever in any public office.
Because he doesn't have a full thought process. If you wonder what's the reason you want to have your Twitter followers stay up and whatever numbers you have, I think he's at 59 million. Again, as you already pointed out, his problem was in comparison to the previous president. His problem is the numbers there. But if you worry about your numbers, the point is, like if I lost, I don't know, 10,000 Twitter followers, I'd be like, wow, what did I do? And I'd be like, man, there's 10,000 less people that might see the genius of Jayar Jackson if I was the idiot that this guy is, to say something like that. So I'd be worried about fewer people seeing what I have to say. If I'm the president of the United States, trust me, no one has any problems hearing what you have to say. You're the president. Twitter isn't your microphone to the world. If you can't tweet, no one's gonna hear about what you have to say. Hey, take a press conference, idiot. Hey, go in front of any camera. They'll record you every day talking. If you think you need to have a bigger voice in the world. They'll listen. Twitter isn't the only channel.
Exactly, yeah, there's Instagram.
But he doesn't think that far. He's worried about in comparison.
Now, and look, one more thing for me. It's so sad how insecure he is. And nothing is ever going to cure that insecurity because he has no confidence. And he knows in reality, like and this part I don't know, but I'm doing a little bit of pop psychology to try to explain why he's such a buffoon. But his dad, who was a successful businessman, not a good guy, but a successful businessman, must have been so disappointed in this dummy little kid he had. And he called him all those things, sad, baby, dummy, the things that he repeats now as a grown man in his 70s on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And every time he did something, he blew it and his dad had to rescue him. Total failure in high school, total failure at Fordham, total failure at Penn. Every time his dad rescues him, 6 different bankruptcies, his dad rescues him. And every time probably his dad, who was a really mean guy, was like, dummy, idiot, sad baby, right? And he internalized all that. One time, a biographer asked him, "Why don't you do any introspection?" And he's like, "What?" He's like, looking into yourself and trying to figure out what it is, because of course he doesn't know what that word means. And so he's like, he literally said, and this is the most true thing Donald Trump has ever said, "I'm afraid what I would find." So that's who Donald Trump is. That's why he pulls in Jack Dorsey and yells at him for getting rid of fake Twitter followers, because he's so insecure.
I think that there's a second reason, which we've talked about before, which I do want to turn to, because I think this is important beyond Donald Trump. Although I want to read 2 of his tweets that basically about this topic to give you an idea of how deep the conspiracies go when it comes to this. He said, quoting Maria Bartiromo, "The best thing ever to happen to Twitter is Donald Trump. Remember, she was one of the Fox News people at debates in the last cycle, so bear that in mind. So true, but they don't treat me as well as a Republican. Very discriminatory, hard for people to sign on, whatever that means. Constantly taking people off list. Big complaints from many people, different names, over 100 million. I think he's talking about Obama. But should be much higher than that if Twitter wasn't playing their political games. No wonder Congress wants to get involved, and they should. Must be more and fairer companies to get out the word." So what happened to like social media bootstraps? Just tweet interesting stuff and then people might follow you, but that's more difficult. Anyway, I think he brings in Jack Dorsey possibly just because it's all about him and he wants more followers. But the argument that he's making, both to Jack Dorsey and also in these tweets, is the same thing that conservatives make to Twitter all the time and to Facebook as well. And what they want to do is whine, louder and louder and louder, never relenting, until just to get them off their backs. These social media companies don't like stop discriminating against them, they begin to advantage them. They get them involved in all of their programs, they give them preferential treatment, and even when they do that, it's still whining. Facebook has done that for a couple of years now, and still they're constantly whined at by the right, even though constant analysis shows that they get the same reach as anyone else and all of that. And it worked on Facebook, and now they want that on Twitter. They want protections, they want to get involved, and the way that they're gonna do that is by playing the victim card, the fake, false victim card, as often as is necessary.
Any basketball fan knows about this, is whining to the refs. Phil Jackson was legendary at it. Now he does it a more sophisticated version. Trump does, right? So okay, but that Republicans as a party have been doing this for a long time. All they ever do is cry, and it's true, it works. You know what? Who Facebook put in charge of fact checking, etc.? Nothing but Republicans. John Kyle is heading one of the most important projects at Facebook to do fact checking. John Kyle is a massively right-wing Republican former senator from Arizona. The other day I heard the Daily Caller, a total fake news operation. Their job is to do propaganda, not news. They're not at all related to news. And the Daily Caller is somehow helping to do fact checking at Facebook. My God, what? And look, most of Facebook's board is Republicans. And so, but they still cry. And so then Facebook goes, okay, let me bring in another Republican. That wasn't good enough, now Republican propaganda. And now, okay, let's do this and let's do that. And they pile on and pile on, pile on. One day I want somebody to walk up and actually say the truth to these guys, stand up to them and say, when Trump says, oh my God, pick an outlet. YouTube's discriminating against me. And they do this all the time. The right wing does. Oh, Young Turks, they're so big on YouTube. Look, you have a right to speech, which YouTube gives you. You don't have a right to be popular. And so they're constantly crying about, oh, we don't get enough views. Why aren't we as popular as the Young Turks? So I would love for somebody to step up whenever the next time one of these right wingers is crying and go, and God, it would be great if it was. Anyway, just to say, and especially if it was to Trump, are you done crying yet? God, that would be so powerful. But of course they can't, because they're all afraid of Republican temper tantrums. And what is the result of that? And that's why this story is important. Because Twitter is part of the media, the press. So the Republicans threaten to use their power to attack the press, the government attacking the press, doing a core First Amendment violation. They say, oh, we'll do that. We'll call you in front of Congress, we'll yell at you, we'll take away tax advantages. Trump threatened that with the Washington Post. We'll do X, Y, and Z. We will punish you if you do not give us an unfair advantage. I'm so tired of their crying.
And the last thing I want to say is, I mean, obviously, like concerns over whether they're advantaging one side of a political debate and all that is important by itself. But I very much think that this strategy has potentially life and death consequences. Donald Trump has violated the terms of service of Twitter multiple times, but he will never be taken off of Twitter because Twitter is too scared of what would happen if they were to do that, even though his tweets on multiple occasions have materially increased the chance that certain politicians in America will be assassinated. Maxine Waters got death threats as soon as he targeted her on Twitter. The same thing happened with Ilhan Omar. Cesar Sayoc sent pipe bombs to all the targets that Trump continually tweets about. A lieutenant in the Coast Guard wanted to start some sort of race war by shooting up a bunch of the politicians again that Donald Trump, and almost exclusively Donald Trump, in some cases, like with Blumenthal, talk about. And so he gets that platform. He will never be silenced on that platform, even if it means that you might have to lose a couple of congressmen along the way.
Trump can only do things like this from the support he gets. So it's one of those questions. You can't ask Trump about it because we know what blabber is gonna come out of his mouth. Ask the people who support him. Ask the elected officials, Republicans who continue to act like none of this is happening. It's why all that stuff he gets away with, because we act like it just didn't happen because other people in some level of power don't do anything about it. So anytime Mitch McConnell stands in front and has one of his press conferences, ask him, do you approve of the president calling in the CEO of Twitter to talk about followers when he's concerned about the border, when he's concerned about North Korea, possibly anymore, forgot about those guys. When he's concerned about Iran, the Iran deal, when he's concerned about infrastructure, when he's concerned about healthcare, because hey, the president said you guys are gonna be the party of healthcare. When he brought in the CEO of Twitter to complain about followers, where does that get your party to become the party of healthcare? Can you answer the question, Mitch? Can you tell us? Because you're the one who's supporting him. You're the one who we're gonna talk about later, said you're gonna back him up at every turn to make sure nothing else happens except for what he wants to happen. He wants to talk about Twitter. Do you support him?
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.